And a nice straight spine, please. We're going to start with Amma today, a reading. It's called The Beautiful Flower. The beautiful fragrant flower of compassion blooms in the fullness of divine love. Compassion does not see faults and weaknesses or distinguish between good people and bad. Compassion does not recognize boundaries between nations, religions, or beliefs. Compassion has no ego, thus no fear, lust, or emotionality. Compassion simply forgives and forgets, like an open passageway. Compassion is the expression of perfect love. So I'll invite you to bring compassion into your practice. Some of you might not, regularly here or on your mat. So just be kind and gentle. Let's bring in that compassion. So feel free to set your own personal intention for your time here on your yoga mats. Good. And when you're ready, we can open the eyes. So again, sit in a way that works for you. And then we're going to put our fingertips on our shoulders. And we'll start with the little elbow circles here, or shoulder circles. So I trust you all had a good weekend. Hopefully getting out a little bit for walks and that kind of thing. Roll the shoulders back the other way, please. And then next time you come around, bring the elbows together as much as possible. And then open them back up. And then bring the elbows in. Maybe they touch, maybe they don't. And then bring them back in. One more time, elbows in. It kind of rounds your mid-back, and then it opens up your chest. And we're going to bring the hands behind the head. They don't have to interlace. I'm just letting them rest here. Elbows in towards one another. And then the chin comes down in towards the chest. So your hands don't have to pull on your head. And then we're going to bring the elbows out in front and take the elbows up towards the ceiling and maybe even the gaze. So I keep my elbows in a little bit, little arch. And then we're going to bring the chin in towards the chest. Maybe the elbows touch. And then lift the elbows up. I have to separate them to bring them up towards the ceiling. Okay, one more time. Chin in towards the chest, elbows touch. And then reach the elbows out and a little bit up towards the ceiling. And then you can open them up nice and wide and release the arms. Okay. Feel free to have a block or you'll stay up on your hand. I was thinking I'd come down onto my forearm, but I want to keep that. I'm going over to the right. I'm keeping that left hip down. I can even use the hand to hold the hip down. And maybe if I'm using a block, maybe bring it up a little high, wherever your stretch is, or your hand can be on the ground. Okay. Some of you might need lower or higher. Okay. We're going to take that left arm out and up overhead and then roll it around. So again, getting into shoulders here a little bit. Trying to keep the hip bones down one more time around. Next time it comes around, I'm going to let it go on towards that right knee and then roll the shoulder forward a little bit. Now, if I don't feel much stretch, then I might go a little lower to the ground, but I'm really anchoring that left hip down. Then the arm's going to go out in front towards me and then up towards the sky. And then bring it down, out to the center, reach it out, and back down to the knee. One more time, just out in front. You can watch it as it goes up towards the ceiling. I get a different stretch in that hip too. And then bring it down out in front and down to the knee. And then I'm going to slide on up. If you're sitting cross-legged and want to change the variation of your legs, you can. And then I'll take the block over if I'm using it, hang out over my forearm or my hand, whatever might work. But I want to anchor so you can take that right hand, hold that left hip down, or your right hip. Okay. Head can just stay in line with the rest of the spine. Okay. And then we're going to circle this arm around just a couple times. It can go from the front to the back, to the back to the front. Let's see if you can get that whole shoulder move around. Good. Next time you come around, we'll place it on the knee. And I can roll that shoulder forward, but I'm really keeping that hip down. And then I'm going to bring the arm out in front and then up to the sky. Maybe a look up, and then the gaze can follow it as it stretches out to the front and then down onto the knee. Again, stretch it out. So I'm really working the lats or stretching the lats back here. And then look up, reach up, stretch up. And then one more time, down out in front and then down to the knee. Okay. And then we'll circle that arm back around and come on up. Extend the legs out. So even if you're sitting on a chair, just come to the edge of the chair, sit on the chair. What we're going to do is just come forward a little bit over those legs to say good afternoon to our hamstrings. And then come back up and stretching. I want to make sure the toes come towards me. One more time, gentle forward bend. And then the next time you come forward, stay to where you get your stretch. So I'm looking at my big toes and trying to keep the back of the neck nice and long. You could spread those toes a little bit as well. Keep them nice and healthy, spreading them so that you have movement in your toes and space between each toe. And then come back up. Bound angle would be next, and you can use your blocks underneath to support the knees if you need to. We're going to butterfly those knees up and down a little bit. Okay, you can sit in this way or back into a cross-legged position, whatever's comfortable for you. One hand on each shoulder, so we're giving ourselves a little hug, and then we're going to bring those elbows out away from us a little bit. And then look up, take the elbows up. It's a little bit of a back bend. Take care of your neck. Bring the elbows down, chin in towards the chest. One more time. Inhale, look up. And maybe you just come to the elbows, shoulder height. Maybe you take the elbows up a little bit more. Then the elbows come down, chin in towards the chest. This time, just bring the head up and recross your arms. So whatever one's on top goes on the bottom. We're going to tuck the chin, go down, see how that feels. Inhale, reach the elbows up, away from you, and then up towards the sky, a little bit or a lot. And then we got another time here, so we're going to come forward, let the head relax, the mid-back relax, and then reach the elbows out, take the gaze up, and then the elbows will come down. Last time, chin in towards the chest. From here, you can just relax the arms. Whatever way you're sitting, just walk your hands out a little bit. Relax that neck and shoulders. And come on up. Okay, let's all come to a standing position. Again, have your blocks handy, just in case. You might want them, or a chair around also, because you know there's going to be at least one balancing pose. So you might want a chair around. We're going to separate the feet a little wider, hands on the hips. So just bring those, like I got my index finger and thumb and just holding my hips down, making my spine a little longer. And I'm going to push the left hip out towards the left. Inhale, back to center. Ears, shoulders, and hips align. Push the right hip out towards the side. Okay. And then the next time you come center, hands still on the hips, you can bend your knees a little bit. Hinge at the hips. So I'm letting my pelvis just tip. I'm not going all the way down. I want to maybe bend my knees a little bit more, keep the back of the neck long. And then move your shoulder blades towards one another. So say my head, shoulders, and hips are maybe at the same level, and I'm trying to bring my shoulder blades in towards one another, just a little bit so I don't round there. Now from here, go ahead and reach out through the crown of the head and come on up and release. Okay, we're going to let those arms just kind of swing around. I let the back heel come off the ground. So we're doing like these helicopter arms, but you don't have to control your arms. They're just flopping around. Back heel comes off the ground because that's a little easier on the lower back if I just pivot around. Just take nice breaths in and out. I like to inhale center, exhale through the mouth as I twist. So the breaths are kind of short here. Turn your head in the opposite direction of your arms. For a little brain game, yoga brain. Good. And then start to slow it down. A couple more times each side, but now I just slow down. The arms don't move so much. The hips don't move so much. And then I come back to center. And then you can walk your feet underneath your hips. So our first balancing pose, we're just going to come off our heels, like rocking forward. If you have a wall, use a wall. If you have a chair, use a chair. Even if you're not sure if you're going to need it or not, it's good just to have it around, right? Okay. One more time, off the heels and then down. Then from here, heels are down. You're just going to lift your toes up, spread them wide, because then you get a really good foundation underneath your feet, and then lower your toes back down. Take your arms out to the side, palms up, reach and extend. So at this point, your legs have already come into mountain, right? The quadriceps are lifted a little bit. I feel the muscles in my legs. Then if you'd like, you can take your arms maybe up a little higher, like a V shape. Some of you might bring the arms in a little closer towards your ears, or maybe cactus arms suit you a little bit better. So we just did some work for the neck and shoulders, so I don't want it to feel like it's you're putting tension anywhere in your body. Okay, 2 more breaths in your mountain pose, right? Little by little, you can even take the arms out, extend them, more of a V. And then on your next exhalation, slowly let the arms come down. Keep the legs still working. And then the palms, when they come down, are going to come onto the tops of your thighs. I'm going to take my feet a little wider, maybe a little bit more than hip bone. Seems to work in my knees a little bit better. And then I'll go to the side just so you see. So a very gentle chair pose. So my butt's going to sit down a little bit, doesn't affect my knees. But I'm trying to bring my knees over my ankles. Okay. And then I'm going to slide up. So we're going to do a couple more of those. Trust your knees. Bend the knees, sit your butt back a little bit. Your weight is in your heels. So I'm lifting my toes up. Okay, then I'm going to press into the heels, come up. We have one more. Some of you might slide down a little further. Try to get those knees back a little bit. Let's stay for 2 breaths. Toes are up, weights in the heels, even if you're pretty much standing. But I have a feeling if your knees are bent a little bit, your quads are still going to work. Okay, everybody, we're going to come on up and relax. Okay. So from the front of your mat, inhale the arms up. Exhale, the hands are going to come to the floor, maybe to your blocks, maybe even to your thighs if you prefer. I'm going to step the right leg back into a lunge. So say I don't have blocks, but I happen to have a chair here. It's kind of nice for some support. If you need to put that back knee down, you're welcome to do so. Here's your lunge. If I'm holding on to a chair or blocks, I'm not leaning all my weight into it. I'm trying to make my legs do most of the work. Push off of that back foot, step forward. Let's take the left leg back. Here we go, a lunge. Okay. Now some of you might be up a little higher because it feels better in the hips or knees, or your chair is a little higher. Okay. Take a breath. and bring that leg back in. Exhale here. Inhale, come on up. And let's bring the palms to the heart center. Okay. Keep the hands at the heart center. Bend your knees. You might want to back up against the wall or even sit on the chair. I'm going to take my right knee on top of my left. So eagle pose, but I'm just going to keep my hands at the heart center for now. So here I just see I have the wall, so it feels pretty good because I can put some weight into the wall and take it off my hips and knees, or maybe I just don't bend the knees very much. Others will take the foot off the floor, even wrap the foot around your calf. Okay. Nice steady gaze. Make this work for you. Okay, you can have the toes still on the ground. And then we're going to release so you can slide up, unwind, and shake it out. So it should bring a little energy to the bottom leg. And even the top because you're locking them or crossing them over. So let's try the other side. I'm going to use the wall because it feels pretty good to have the support. I'm going to bring the left leg on top. This might be my pose. And again, if I have the wall, I'm putting some of the weight off my hips. So if you got a hip issue going on. The bottom foot stays off the floor if you want. Toes can stay on, or you can try to hook it around. But I want to keep my hips square, palms at the heart, if that's okay with you. Nice steady gaze. Maybe a little of that Ujjayi breath we started off in the beginning, a little closing off of the back of the throat. How I like to think of it, or the easiest way, is if I was fogging a mirror and then close my lips and do that, that's the Ujjayi sound. Okay, we're going to release the hands, uncross. Once we come up, we might just shake it out a little bit. Okay, we're going to step the feet a little wider, however you are on your mats. Right toe's going to come to the right. We're going to bend that knee into a warrior two. I'm going to take the arms up to about T position and look out over the right fingertips. So you know I'm looking at you, mentally anyway, and I'm asking you to look at your knee and make sure it's right over your ankle. Doesn't bother the knee. It's okay if it's not right over the ankle, I just don't need it beyond the ankle. Okay? Then we're going to straighten that leg a little bit or a lot and tip over into triangle pose. Let's stay here a breath. So that back leg is pretty active. I'm going to press into my feet. Inhale, come up. Bend the front knee. I'm back into warrior two. Okay. Inhale here. Exhale, start to straighten the leg. Your variation, it doesn't have to be down so far. Could even have the knee bent a little bit. We're going to do it one more time. Warrior two, Virabhadrasana. Start to straighten the leg into Trikonasana, triangle pose. Okay. One more time into warrior two. Bring your palms together at your heart center. Stay here in warrior two. Make sure the toes are relaxed. And then we're going to straighten that leg, toes in, toes out on the other side. So take your left toes to the left. The knee's going to bend a little bit. Maybe you take your stance a little wider. And then we'll take the arms out, T position. Could be cactus or T. Look out over the left fingertips. Make sure the toes aren't gripping. Remember, those back toes come in a little bit. You want to have a good grip on the outer edge of your foot. Not that you're rolling out. You want to feel all 4 points on each foot. That's underneath the ball mount of the big toe, the little toe, and 2 points in the heels. Okay, so here we have warrior two. Now we're going to start to straighten the leg a little bit and triangle pose. You can always change the gaze and look up if you like. Nice and slow, bend the front knee, back into warrior two. Gaze goes out over the fingertips. And it's almost like I'm shifting that right hip back, lengthening the front leg as much as I want. I can look up for another variation of neck. Good. Come back into warrior two. Bring your palms to the heart center, straighten the leg, toes in, and forward bend. So I might just release my hands, bend my knees if I want to, just come down to my thighs or grab a block if I want to and come forward. Here, once you get to wherever you like, the head relaxes. Nice full breath. Your toes could even come in a little bit. It gives me a little bit more support in the legs if the toes come in the outer edges of the feet so I don't slip, slide away. And then you come up in a way that works for you. Maybe it's bending the knees, one hand on each hip, and then you come up nice and slow. Now I'm kind of wide, so I might heel toe in a little bit to get back to my legs right underneath my hips. Okay, so from the front of your mat, we are going to put our knees down. So if you want to have a blanket in the middle of your mat, you can grab that. We'll start at the front of the mat. Inhale the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Just like we did before, but we're going to step the right leg back, but this time put the back knee down. So I like to have my blocks around. Okay, and if you have one block, that's perfect too. So a little bit for hips here. Let's just pause for a moment. Maybe walk the front foot out a little bit if I'm not feeling a stretch anywhere. Back toes can be curled under or you can have them relaxed. And then we're going to take the arms up towards the sky. So I can still keep my gaze forward a little bit. Keep it out of my back, come forward. Cactus arms if I feel it in the back or shoulders. So a very gentle lunge here. Bring the hands to the blocks or the floor and switch sides. Take your time. When that right foot does come forward, I'm going to readjust, see if I need a little bit more or not so much. I'm not going to just put all my weight into the hands, so I want to lighten up on those. Maybe a little stretch back here in the quad. Okay, if you so desire, those arms could come up. Any variation, nice steady gaze. Maybe back to the Ujjayi breath. A little raspy breath in the back of your throat. Helps with concentration. Gives the mind something to focus in on. And then we'll bring the hands to the floor or the block and then shift that right leg back. From here, child pose. Today I'm going to just use my blocks up high and let my head rest on the block as my hips go back. I know some of you, knees might not like that to go back, so I might just stay on my knees and walk my arms out. I'm more in a puppy position than a child. Okay? If you can't be on your knees at all, just sit on your buttocks. Many different ways of doing it, which is lovely because it's got to fit each individual body. So let's come forward onto all fours. There's blocks there. I'm just going to bring them out to the side. Separate my knees a little bit and then shift those hips a little side to side. So again, if I can't be on my knees, I might just sit on my buttocks and still just rock my hips a little side to side or windshield wiper. I like to give you modifications just in case you need them. When I come back to center, I'll walk the knees back in, and then I'll walk to where I can stand up on my knees and hands behind my back. So my elbows might come in a little bit towards one another, just a little bit to open that chest. And then I'm going to release the arms, inhale the arms up, look up, maybe a little back bend. Then I'll bring the hands back to my back and take the gaze down. Chin could come in towards my chest. That's it. You can do this in the chair as well. Inhale. So once you take those arms up, it automatically becomes a back bend. Exhale, I'm going to take the gaze down, hands behind the back. One more of these. Shoulder opening, chest opening, whole front body gets open. And the gaze comes down and the hands come behind the back. Okay, let the head come up, release the arms, and let's come off those knees. We're going to come back into a seated posture. I'm going to take a little extra support for my hips because we're going to work on hips here a little bit. Let's go a little wide into a little straddle here. Now I could bend my knees for sure. Let's do that. Let's all start with bent knees and then we can make it harder if we need that. Toes are straight up. Hands are going to come on the inside. And I'm just going to walk forward a little bit. Here you might feel it in the groin. We're taking it out of the hamstrings, back behind the legs. Maybe a little bit in the inner legs. Okay, let's back off of that. Straighten the legs a little bit, not all the way yet. And then maybe come forward a little bit more. Notice where you feel it. Maybe even a little wiggle side to side. See if we can get in there a little deeper. Okay. I'm going to walk back up because now I'm going to decide, do I want completely straight legs or go back to somewhere I was before? And then I can just come forward. Again, that's where blocks could be handy. I could just hang out here, put my elbows on the block, still get my legs working, but my upper body doesn't have to work so much. We call this TV asana, where your hands are just resting on your chin. Now, those of you who need a little bit more, you can certainly walk out a little bit more. Don't look at your feet. Just make sure they're not relaxed. I want the toes up, even if your knees are still bent. Now you're going to feel it in the back of the leg, probably the inside of the leg, in a good way. Okay, we're going to start to come out of this. So I'll walk myself back up. Might want to help the legs together. And we'll keep the knees bent for now. One hand behind each knee. Just take that in. It feels like really good to relax those muscles now. Help one foot off the ground. I know this might be simple for some of you, so you don't have to use the hand behind there if you want. Then others, I'm going to ask that you can bring both feet off the floor and then just tap one toe down and the other. So I'm bringing one knee in as the other toe's tapping down. Trying to keep my chest bone, sternum lifted. And I'm just tapping. Then some of you might want to take both toes and tap down right at the same time. Okay, remember you can alternate. You can even keep one foot completely on the floor or both feet off, tiptoeing the big toes down. So this is working a little bit of your abs, hip flexors, and then we'll bring both feet down. You're going to extend out through the left leg. We're going to bring that right leg in. You're welcome to take behind the knee. I just went around the shin. And I'm going to point and flex that foot. Actually, you can do that on both sides. A little point and flex. If you happen to have a wall and you want to back up against it, it makes your spine stay a little bit more honest. You don't have to work so hard. Okay, so now we're going to flex both feet. I'm going to see if I can put my hands on the bottom of my foot. If I don't, I'll just go down as far as I can. Then I'm going to pick up that foot a little bit. It's bent. I'm going to bring the thigh back and towards my chest or that armpit. Okay, so this is very similar to your happy baby pose on your backs. And then we're going to extend the leg a little bit more for more hamstrings. And then I'm going to rock that leg. I can still use both hands, even if the knee's bent. Take that leg over towards the left a little bit. See what you're exploring, what you're feeling here. Then bring it back in, and you can bend it and release it. And then we'll do that on the other side. So we'll hug this left leg in and then point and flex the foot. Okay, then we'll keep both of the feet flexed for now. Sit up nice and tall. And you can do this in a chair also. And then I'll start to see if I can grab the bottom of my foot or stay, maybe hands just on the back of the thigh, because you can still get your half happy baby pose here. You know, hands at the foot, maybe behind the thigh, it's all good. Maybe bring those toes, all 10 of them, towards you a little bit more. So you can press down through that right leg pretty active so that it keeps you grounded on the floor as you start to little by little extend that left leg to your degree. And then I can rock it over towards the right a little bit, maybe bring it back, bent or straight. And I know your arms are going forward, but do make sure you sit up pretty straight. Good. We'll bring that back, bend the knee, and extend both legs out. Okay. Your hands are going to be behind you. Let's press out through the heels. So my hands come back around, and I'm not in my palms, I'm just on the fingertips, and I'm trying to lift my chest up, and I'm going to take my gaze up and push my heels away from me, and the toes come towards you. So this might feel like your chest is lifting, which I hope it does. The shoulder blades just moving slightly towards one another, right? Big opening in the chest. All 10 toes coming toward you. You can even press down in through those calves if you have straight legs. Okay. Then we're going to take the gaze from upward down towards the toes and then release the hand. Rotate the wrist a couple times in each direction, just 2 or 3 times. Okay, feet are on the floor. I'm going to turn sideways just so you can see me. Some of you, because of shoulder injuries, wrist stuff, you might not be able to do this next pose. It's called reverse table. But you can stay right here and lift your chest up. So let's do that. So that doesn't put too much stretch on my wrist, so just make sure it works for you. I just simply lift my chest. For others, you're going to lift your hips up a little bit, see how that feels, lift those hips up, and then we're going to come back down. That's the warm-up. So this helps strengthen the shoulders, but not if we have an injury. So we're going to come up, for those of you who can, reverse table. I don't let my head completely drop back. Let's come down. We've got one more time. Okay? Inhale, come on up a little bit, or higher, higher with the hips. Stay for a breath. And then lower down. And be it even if you just came up like a 1/4 inch off the ground, that's still very much weight bearing. Release the hands from the back, sit in a cross-legged position again, and let's shake those wrists out. We're going to bring the fingertips down to the floor. Sit any way that works for you. Use your props if you have props. We're going to take that left arm up, straight up towards the sky. So I want you to feel like you're really stretching up. And then you're going to reach this right arm out. And I'm flexing my palm to get a little, like one arm's going up, the other one's going down. And then flex the other palm. So I'm pressing out through the heel of my hand. This is a little wrist stretch here. Okay, relax. And other side. So I want to really extend that right arm up. Nice open right side of the body. I'll bring the fingertips off the floor at first. Flex that left hand, right? Lifting up with the right, and then I can flex the right palm. So both palms are flexing. Going a little different angle here. Okay, we're going to relax. Going to go back into that hug. Bring the chin in towards the chest. This time I really want you to bring the elbows in towards your navel. Drop the head round in the mid-back. Okay, then inhale, come on up. Bring those elbows up, maybe as high as your shoulders. Jet them out a little bit, so stretch them out. Take the elbows over towards your right, head to the left. Back to center. Elbows to the other side, head to the opposite, and come back. Release. Inhale the arms up. And then here, if you want to change the cross of your legs, you can. And then when you give that hug, I hope it's the opposite arm on top. Yeah. Because I usually do a habitual one. So if it feels a little different, that's the side you want to be on. Okay? So here we give ourselves a big hug, roll back, chin in towards the chest, get that ujjayi sound. Really kind of easy to do once the throat is in towards the chest. Okay? And then inhale, come on up. Bring the elbows up a little bit, maybe as high as the shoulders. I'm going to move the elbows away from me so I can take the arms over towards that's your left, head to the right, doesn't matter, just so you do the opposite. And then come back to center, elbows in one direction, chin stays parallel. And then come back to center and release. Roll the shoulders up, back and down. And reverse the shoulders. Okay. And then we're going to come on to our bellies. So if you want to open up your blanket, a little extra comfort, some of you might be on tile or wooden floors, so you want to have a little extra padding there. And we're going to come on our bellies. This is going to be very easy, gentle. Some of you might do a little bit more because you can. But let's take a 10-second Shavasana here. So I might stack my hands so my forehead can rest on my hands. It's usually easier on your neck if your head is centered than if you turn it. For any length of time, that is. Okay. Separate your feet a little wider than hip bone. Press down into the tops of your feet. Keep the legs rooted. And inhale, just lift your forehead off your hands for a moment, but my nose is still pointing down. So I hope I am clear so you don't always have to look at your device. And then I'm going to bring the forehead back down. Then I'm going to lift just the legs off the ground, maybe just the feet, maybe the entire thigh and knees come off the ground, just a little bit. Feel what's activated here, and then lower that down. Then I'm going to inhale the head up again, just a little bit, and then maybe lift my legs. See if that works. Nose pointing down. You can even press into your hands if you want to come up a little higher. But again, we're taking this in different stages. On your next exhalation, go ahead and lower everything down at the same time. One more time in this way. Inhale. Head, maybe you bring the legs up the same time the head comes up. It's kind of a variation on boat pose. Stay for extra breath if you can. If you can't, go a little lower down towards your mat. Those legs are still pretty active even though they came off the floor. Head goes down, legs go down, pause. Now you can let the legs relax. Bend the knees and windshield wiper the legs side to side. So sometimes that's all we need is just a minute here, strengthening, taking time to strengthen that lower back. Legs will come down once they come to center. Child pose, butt towards your heels. You can, if you have a blanket there, you can pad those knees. Now, if it works better for you not to take your hips back, but reach your arms out into puppy stretch, that's a little easier on some of our knees. Or come out of this position all together. So child or puppy or your own creation. And let's all come back up to table position. We're going to get off those knees. And you might want to grab your blanket. So I like to say, like, even if you don't have a yoga blanket, have a beach towel or a towel. Here's my suggestion today, but most of you have your variations you like. I'm going to make this a little thicker roll. So I have it like this, and then I'm going to fold it in thirds. That's going to be for my spine. Now, grab another blanket or a pillow if you don't want so much of a back bend, just put it here. But what I like, well, not right there, let me just say, I don't want this right against your sacrum. I want it to hit right across your shoulder blades. So I'll use my abs, use my arms, I come down, and maybe you need a block for your head, but it's not down by my waist, it's up across my shoulder blades. Maybe you need your block underneath your blanket for your head. And then once you get here, you say, oh yeah, I'd like to have that pillow underneath my butt. So then it's not so much of a back bend, because I did have you folded in thirds. Okay, so take a second or two, get comfortable. Palms up. Maybe go back to that mudra we did in the beginning, where your index finger comes on the knuckle of the thumb in front, and the middle finger touches the thumb. That's mudra, it's called hook mudra, and it's to help control the mind. Okay? So I'd like you to be here a couple minutes, so I'd rather you grab an extra pillow or blanket for underneath your hips if you need it. Okay? So you stay in the pose. I'm going to come up. Now you can straighten out those legs if you want to. There's something else that I wanted to share with you with that hook mudra. It makes the mind supple. That's what it is, and helps to control the mind and the thoughts. So I have to remember this if you wind up in the middle of the night and you feel like it's a little bit of a monkey mind happening, try this mudra, which will help control the mind and the thoughts. Okay, so you're in relatively easy back bend for some of you. Some of you it's a little bit more. You can take those arms up overhead a little bit to get a stretch in the front of the shoulders. The legs can change. They can be crossed or bent or straight. Okay, you got 1 more minute here. If it suits you, you always know if it doesn't work for you, you can come out of it. Okay. If you don't feel a stretch through the front of your shoulders, the chest, maybe change up the arms. Mudras are gestures, they're symbols, so they've been around as long as yoga. It's part of yoga. And they usually have several benefits to them. And sometimes it's much easier to go into a mudra than it is a yoga poses in certain situations. So this is one for the mind. It could be done for meditation. It can be helpful for that too, because it controls the mind. Okay, let's take 3 more breaths here. You might even want to do that ujjayi sound in the back of the throat. It almost sounds like when you get ready, like you start to fall asleep, and it might be like right before you get, like snoring a little bit. That's what it sounds like in the back of the throat. And one more thing about mudras, you don't squeeze the fingers, or they're lightly in those positions I just gave you, okay? You don't have to really press into the fingers. Okay, if your legs are straight, would you go ahead and bend them? Or in any other position? If the arms are out there pretty far, just go ahead and gradually bring them to your sides. So I had you do this pose because it gets into that mid-back a little bit more. Of course, we all have poses that might suit our bodies a little bit different. Okay, so we're gonna roll typically over to the right side and come up nice and slow. Okay. I want you to take that same blanket. We're going to fold it or roll it a little differently. So it's still like this, but go ahead and roll it from here. It might make it a little thicker. This is going to go underneath your knees. Those of you have bolsters at home, you might want to use that. I'm going to situate this underneath my knees, bend my knees. I'd like you to consciously come back onto your backs. But how do you do that? Do you just plop down? Or can I use my forearms, use my abs a little bit? If you need a blanket for your head, you can have that. And then I use those abs to transition down a little bit more. And then when I get down, then I can extend the legs over the roll. So I hope that the blanket landed right behind your knees. Then we're going to bring just the right knee in towards the chest. You know how we were sitting and we hugged that knee in? This is a little easier on your lower back. Hug the right knee in. Now take the left leg up towards the ceiling. Keep hugging the right leg, point and flex the left foot. Good. Lower the left leg down nice and slow. Take at least 20 seconds to lower the left leg down, but keep hugging the right leg in because that should be okay in your lower back that way. After that left leg gets down, then extend the right leg up. Point and flex again, just the right leg. And then bend the knee, hands behind the knee, but keep the foot flexed up towards the ceiling, but really try to get your thigh to come down and towards your rib cage. So my knee is bent. It's like that half happy baby pose, but my arms are doing all the work to try to get that thigh down, maybe even to the outside of your ribs, but I'm really trying to keep the foot flexed here. So this could be a little bit of hips, back of the neck nice and long. And then go ahead and extend that leg, release your hands, lower that leg down. Maybe take a good 20 seconds. Okay, bring the left leg in. Let's give it a hug first. Okay, I want to feel the lower back in contact with my mat. Then I'll lift the right leg up, point and flex, maybe both feet. Good hug on the left side. Okay, now flex both feet and then press out through that right heel as you start to lower the leg down. A good 20 seconds. You could go longer if you want. Feel the quad muscle gets engaged. Still hugging the left one in so my lower back doesn't come off the floor. And then when that right leg gets down, you can let that be relaxed. And then extend the left leg up, first straight, point and flex. Then I'm going to bend that right knee, hand still behind the back of the leg. And I'm going to bend it and flex the foot. And maybe if you look, the knee and the ankle are pretty much in the same alignment. Half happy baby pose basically, but we're taking a modified variation. I still feel it in the hips. And then extend that leg. You can lower your hands and relax them and lower the leg. Take a good 10, 20 seconds to lower that leg down. Good. Relax the legs, relax the arms. Then bend the knees, feet on that roll. So the roll can stay there. Separate your feet probably as wide as that roll is and drop both legs over to the right. Go slow. You want to bring both knees down. Even press that left hip away from you a little bit more. Come back up. Nice and slow to the other side. Press the knees down towards the floor. If you want to come over a little further. Right hip can come off the floor, gentle twist. Because this is basically a gentle class. And of course, all of us need different degrees of the pose, so that's why you go to where you need to feel the stretch. We're going to bring the knees back up, feet off the roll, one hand on each knee, and start to make some 3 big circles in each direction with the knees. So the knees are making your circle. And then reverse it around the other side. And the hands are guiding. Okay, when you're finished with that, feet on the roll, cross your right ankle over your left thigh. Use the right hand to kind of bring that thigh away from you. Some of us are going to stay right here. Some of you are going to lift the left foot off the roll and then place your hands behind that thigh for thread the needle. A couple breaths here. We'll do maybe like 5 breaths. Any variation, foot can stay on the roll. You can use your hand to open up that hip. A couple more breaths. Good. Bring the foot down, uncross the ankle, and let's try the other side. But start here. Use the left hand to open up the hip, flex the foot. I like to palm that inside of my left thigh, kind of get the flesh. You have meridians running all in the inside of your legs, so they're acupressure points. Okay, anybody want to pick that foot off the roll? You can use your hands to grab the back of the leg. Keep the back of the neck nice and long, maybe a few more ujjayi breaths here. Bring compassion into those hips, so don't force them to do something they're just not able to do today. A couple more breaths. Some of you have different variations. You like to extend the right leg up, or keep it folded. Okay, we're going to release the hands, let the foot come down. Extend the legs once again over that roll. And stretch your arms up overhead, reaching, stretching through the fingertips, maybe even through the toes. And then relax your legs, relax your arms. Palms up by your side. And then stay there. Roll your head over towards the right. Bring it back to center. Roll it over to the left. And bring it back to center. One more for the neck. So if you visualize or just focus on the tip of your nose is going to start to make circles on the ceiling. You're rolling it around. Maybe they get a little larger. Nose, the tip of the nose is your focus point. And then change those circles to the opposite direction. And then you can start making a figure 8 here. Okay, then reverse that figure 8. It's getting the head to move in different directions than when we're looking at a computer or daily living. We kind of just turn the head side to side, maybe a little up and down. Good. Bring the head back to center. See if there's any other pose you'd like to do before you go into Shavasana, relaxation. So you might still want to use that roll underneath your knees. Maybe you need a blanket on top of you. And then you start to settle in. So give yourself, though, I like everybody to feel complete in their practice. And then once you settle in, let your body relax completely on your support. If the mind's a little active, you might go back to that hook mudra to control the mind. Index finger on top of the thumb knuckle, and the middle finger taps down onto the top of the thumb. And I can show you this after class, so if you didn't get it. Do let the shoulders relax, the breath relax. Surround yourself with this sense of relaxation, compassion, sense of peace for the next few minutes here. Start to bring the awareness back to your breath. Maybe that little ujjayi breath, that little raspy sound in the back of the throat. Lee Hunt says, whatever evil befalls us, we ought to ask ourselves after the first suffering, how we can turn it into good. So shall we take occasion from one bitter root to raise perhaps many flowers. So even during this time of isolation, and there might be some bittersweetness to it as well. You're deepening your yoga practice or find a little bit more time for yourself. And seeing the fruits, the gifts that might befall us all day to day. So when you're ready, you can start to stretch. Maybe give yourself another hug for coming onto your mats. And transitioning to a comfortable seated posture. Bringing the palms to the heart center if you're ready. Seal the practice with the soft, gentle Om by taking breath in. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So Shanti means peace. Let's take peace from our hearts into our world for all those that are suffering. Namaste, everybody. Have a pleasant day. Feel free to stay on video if you like. If you have any questions about the practice, I'm going to stop the recording here. And if you have